Welcome into another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside the one and only Heath Bell. We have a very, very, very special show for you today. We're going to break down how many All-Stars the Padres should have this season, give out first half grades to the entire team, and we will be joined by Jason Adams for a special exclusive interview here on Friar Territory. Heath, I don't know about you, I'm hyped for what we've got today here on Friday. Hopefully, the Padres are as hyped going into this road trip at Cincinnati and Philadelphia.
I'm pretty excited. It's a good time mid-season, getting ready to talk about the All-Star game. Who's going to go? Who's not going to go?
Yeah.
It's a fun time. Plus, it's kind of like, okay, second half. Now we're going downhill instead of uphill during the season. That's kind of how most players feel. So now, after the All-Star break, it's like, all right, let's go, playoff time.
And quick reminder, go ahead and subscribe here to us on Friar Territory. We have a lot of great stuff coming up again. Today, the second half of the season, we have a very, very special edition coming up here in a few weeks. Heath and I will be broadcasting live from Petco Park. So this is a great time to subscribe, rate us 5 stars. This is the time to jump on the bandwagon. All right, Heath. So the Padres, as we sit here today, are 44-36. They are in second place in the NL West. They've jumped the Giants after the Giants lost a few games recently. And they're currently in the number 6 spot in the National League playoff picture, the final wild card spot. We've seen some really impressive performances from the Padres this year. And All-Star balloting is about to be finalized. The starters are going to be announced early next week. The reserves and pitchers will be announced at the end of next week. When you look at this roster right now, who's performed well, who hasn't, how many All-Stars do you think the Padres deserve? And look, you know what an All-Star worthy player is. You appeared in 3 All-Star games. So how many players do you think the Padres should have in this year's All-Star game in Atlanta?
So honestly, I really would like the Padres to have 4 guys in the All-Star game, but they guarantee they should have 2.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thing. They should guarantee have 2. But 4 is, I think, all-star caliber. So I just don't know if it's going to happen or not.
Who are the 2 you consider to be locks, and who are the 4 you think deserve it?
Nick Pivetta should be a lock to be in there. He's that one question mark that when the people talk about the Padres, it's all about offense.
Yeah.
Manny Machado is definitely the lock. Then the other 2 guys is Jackson Merrill, but he's had some time off of injury, and Tatis because – he's kind of I don't want to say he's the face of the MLB, but he's one of them. He's the top 10. He's one of the most exciting right fielders out there. So, and Jackson Merrill's up and coming, one of the most exciting guys. So he's just, those 2 guys, Tatis had a little bit of slump. Jackson Merrill was an injury. So I think those 2 guys might get snubbed, but they're definitely having an all-star all-star type of year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, right? So I agree with you. The Padres will definitely have 2 All-Stars. Manny Machado right now leads the National League in voting among third basemen with a very, very large margin. He will be the National League starter at third base in the All-Star game. I have very, very, very little doubt about that, and he deserves it. It's also not been a great year for third basemen across the National League, so I think there's no doubt Manny Machado will not only be an All-Star, but he will be starting the All-Star game. The other player I consider to be close to a lock is actually someone you didn't mention, and that's Robert Suarez. Suarez right now leads the National League in saves. He's tied for the Major League lead in saves. And even though his ERA is a little bit elevated, it's really just because of 2 bad outings. And really, you could say 1 bad outing, especially last week in Arizona. That jumped him from 1.78 to over 3. But he's still top 3 among all NL closers and opponents' batting average and whip. I think looking at the full picture of, again, leading the National League in saves, and he's been very, very efficient in terms of save opportunities and save percentage, combined with where he stands in terms of opponents' average and whip among closers. I do consider Robert Suarez to be, again, no one's ever a lock, but I think he will get in. So to me, Machado and Suarez are the 2 who will get in. The 3 kind of guys on the margins are the ones you mentioned, Nick Pivetta, Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis Jr. I don't feel super confident about any of them getting in, and we'll talk about why in a second, but I do think Machado and Suarez are locks and will represent the Padres in Atlanta and deserve to.
Robert Suarez is up there. I just kind of totally forgot about him because he's his expansion, he's at home right now. He's not playing. So
Yeah. Again, it's going to be interesting because, again, it's not just about what these players are doing, but it's about what's going on in the context of the rest of Major League Baseball. And that brings us to Fernando Tatis Jr. and whether or not he will be an all-star this year. Because right now, he's the guy that's really kind of the most on the fringe. Jackson Merrill has had a great season, but he's missed so much time with injuries. It's going to be difficult. Nick Pivetta is interesting just because the National League starting pitching crop is so strong. He's certainly worthy and deserving. I think it's just going to be tough. The one guy that's the biggest maybe right now and is right on the cusp is Fernando Tatis Jr. So I want to take a look and show everyone kind of where he stands among National League outfielders right now. So going into today, in terms of batting average, on base, slugging, and OPS, he ranks between 8th and 13th among all National League outfielders. So he's not really top 5 in any category. You move into the counting stats, they're a little bit better in some regards: home runs, RBIs, stolen bases, and WAR. He is third in WAR as measured by Baseball Reference among all National League outfielders, so that's a point in his favor. Home runs, he's tied for 7th. Stolen bases, he's 5th. RBIs, he's 17th, but that's because he's been in the leadoff spot. So he's more or less kind of 5th through 10th, 11th, 12th, depending on the category you're looking at among National League outfielders. And typically we see 6 to 7 outfielders, depending on the year, get selected per league. The NL took 7 outfielders last year, 6 the year before. Do you think Fernando Tatis Jr. deserves to be an all-star this year?
Well, here's the thing. If I was a critical person and really thinking about it, I'm going to say probably no. But he started off with such a good year. Started off the year, I was definitely saying MVP category and, candidate, whatnot. So, but then the last month or so, I'd probably say, okay, he's fallen off. He's, had a hot start. He's fallen off a little bit where some guys haven't. So he's on that border of, could he be an all-star? Yes. But I think there's other guys a little bit more deserving, and I put him as an all-star because, he's on our team. But if I was definitely on another team, I'd say, no, not this year. He's an all-star guy. He's just not having an all-star year.
Yeah. I think it's really going to come down to if the National League ends up having 6 outfielders or 7. I think that last spot is really going to be what determines whether Fernando Tatis Jr. gets in. So let's break it down right now. National League outfield crop: James Wood, Kyle Tucker, Juan Soto, Pete Crow Armstrong. Those 4 guys absolutely should be all-stars, will be all-stars. They're going to take 4 spots. They've been amazing all year. Corbin Carroll would be an all-star, but he's injured. He suffered a fractured wrist, or I should say a chip in his wrist. So he will be out. So that's another element here, that there may be an extra spot as an injury replacement. But again, Wood, Tucker, Soto, Crow Armstrong, those 4 are going to be in. They should be in. They are all having better years than Fernando Tatis Jr. They're all top 5 in OPS among NL outfielders. There's no real argument against them. Where it gets a little tricky after that 4 is this: Ronald Acuna Jr. and Teoscar Hernandez are finalists to potentially start the game. Fernando Tatis Jr. is having a much better year than Teoscar Hernandez across the board. Higher on base, higher slug, higher OPS, more homers. He's played more games. But Teoscar Hernandez right now is 2nd in all-star voting. And I think he's going to get voted in as a starter. And I think that's actually going to take a spot from Tatis. And then Ronald Acuna Jr. has been hurt this year, but he's been so good since he's been back. The game is in Atlanta. He's going to participate in the home run derby. I have a feeling he's going to be a commissioner's office selection if he isn't voted in as a starter. And he's actually in the race for that too. So I think realistically it's going to be Wood, Carroll, PCA, Teoscar Hernandez, Ronald Acuna as the 6. And the other thing that makes it tough is the Marlins are going to have a representative. And Kyle Stowers, their outfielder, is far and away their best candidate. So I think even if they do go to 7, it might end up being Stowers. I think Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to need to be an injury replacement if someone bows out. So I think realistically, I would not be surprised if when the initial all-star rosters are released next Saturday in full, or next Sunday, I should say, in full, that he's not on it. But if he makes it in as a replacement, I think that's probably his most likely path to making the All-Star game in Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't want to diminish being an all-star ballot, but now the league goes with, if you started before the all-star game, you don't have to pitch in the all-star game. And a lot of pitchers, it's almost like, say Tatis is on the cusp or someone's on the cusp. that didn't get voted as a starter, and there's kind of controversy. Then the league kind of starts some pitchers, and I think gets with the teams and say start him on that Saturday or Sunday, so therefore he won't be able to pitch on the Tuesday, so therefore we could bring another guy in. And it's kind of like it diminishes a little bit of the All-Star. I know the older players, the guys before me, really hate that. And they're just like, look, you were either an All-Star or you weren't. Not everybody got to play the All-Star game. It was a luxury of playing. It was a luxury of one to get on, asked to go play the All-Star game, and two, to actually play. You didn't always need to use that. And then now it's just like, well, let's everybody get one at bat. Let's everybody get one inning. So if the league really wants it and teams really push it, they can kind of get their guy there. So
yeah.
And I really think the fans should just have like one vote. Right? So yeah, it's I feel like the All-Star should be a little bit different. The way the voting is.
By now you know that HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit and that you can choose from 60 recipes every week. But what you might not know is that AJ wants me to describe some of the recent meals that are on the menu. So here we go. Sun-dried tomato grilled cheese sandos. That was easy. Panko-crusted chimichurri barramundi.
Yes.
Let's go.
Nailed it.
Let's
that
go.
Sounds delicious too, by the way.
It does.
And listen, as someone that uses HelloFresh a lot, they come in these little bags with all the ingredients in a bag. You take it out of the bag. It gives you instructions, the recipes in there. You got to do a little cooking so you feel like you did some stuff. Highest quality ingredients, just delicious for meals.
That's right. Make your summer enjoyable and delicious by signing up for HelloFresh at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM and then get 10 free meals with a free item for life. That's HelloFresh.com/FT10FM for 10 free meals and a free item in every box, one per box with active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan.
All right. Well, Heath, we have a very, very, very special guest joining us. Jason Adam, one of the Padres' top relievers and really one of the top relievers in all of baseball. He is joining us here from his hotel room in Cincinnati. Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to see you.
Great seeing you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, my pleasure. So we've got two, again, we've got a 3-time All-Star closer here in Heath Bell, one of the best relievers in baseball, and Jason Adam. This show is definitely getting locked down today. Jason, I want to start first and foremost. The Padres bullpen has been fantastic all season long. As a unit, you guys have been one of the best in Major League Baseball start to finish, and you've really been at the center of that. You have the lowest ERA of any reliever in the Padres bullpen. And not only do you have the most appearances of anyone on the Padres, you lead Major League Baseball in appearances. You've really had a tremendous season so far. From a unit perspective, what has been the key to your guys' success, would you say, this year?
Man, I mean, so much. It's such a special group to be a part of. I think just like to encompass the whole bullpen, though, there was an outing I left. The bases loaded. I pitched terribly. Bases loaded. Suarez came in. So he had to do a 1 1/3 for the save. He bailed me out. So I was talking to him in the pen next day. I was like, brother, sorry to make you come in early. Like, I sucked. And he goes, hey, cover and move, man. And so, that's kind of our motto is cover and move. And I think that's all we're trying to do. When Schilt calls on us, we're trying to get the job done.
Yeah, I got 2 questions for you. One, what do you guys do down the bullpen nowadays to have fun with each other? Is there any other quirks that you guys do down there? Certain people have rituals, like eat a certain piece of candy or drink certain kind of sodas or something like that?
Yeah, yes, it's a weird group. I mean, I think that's universal. The bullpen's always a group of weird guys. We don't have a ton of superstition or anything. It doesn't seem like. If it is, it's hidden. I know a lot of the guys like to have competitions smashing Red Bull cans, see who can, get the most precise circle. But no, it's just a fun group. It's you don't talk a ton of baseball the first few innings, and then you start locking it in.
Do you guys go down in that tunnel still?
Yes. Oh yeah. That's the best spot. I mean, it smells so bad under there, but it's
really?
It is. Yeah. I don't know what's wrong, but yeah, it stinks.
Is the Red Bull still down there?
To clarify, what tunnel? What tunnel are we talking about here? Just to clarify.
So there's a little seating underneath. A little seating area, and it's
in my day you could watch the game down there at field level at the dirt. Now they moved the fences in. You can't.
Yeah,
but
Yeah, no,
There used to be a Red Bull fridge down there. There used to be a couch, a TV,
yeah,
a bathroom.
yep, yeah, that's it. We still got all that. We just can't, you can't see the game there, but we have the like overhead or delay feed. So
And then here's the other question: do you guys ever try to swing the bat? Because pitchers just don't hit.
I beg every day. I'm like, please let me. Yeah, but no. Apparently, I hold no authority in that situation. They won't even let me touch it. But
in spring training, they won't let you guys take BP before the guys show up. Like
nothing.
First week,
No, nothing. Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
I got to take BP a couple times with the Cubs before the rule changes, but now it's all it could have been.
My most exciting part of every spring training was getting my bat with my name on it.
Yeah,
I used it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. You for sure never used it, but it's all about what could be.
Yeah,
absolutely. Jason, I want to ask you, talk about weird bullpen rituals, smashing Red Bull cans. So I have to ask first and foremost, who's the best at it? Who's the reigning champ?
Not me. I played a couple times and got embarrassed, so definitely not me. Man, I can't pick. If I pick one of those guys, they're going to be upset.
Who's the top three? Who's the top three?
Yeah, I think Morahone's pretty good at it. Estrada's pretty good at it. And then I got to leave out Suarez or Wandy. I'll put Suarez in there, yeah.
All right.
There you go. The three of the four big horses there. They're great at cutting outs and great in crushing Red Bull cans. So
that's all that matters.
It gives you wings.
It's right.
Absolutely. Jason, you talk about interesting bullpen rituals. I actually want to ask about yours. You do somersaults in the bullpen.
Oh, okay, yeah, I
moving
do
a little bit. It's certainly one of the more unique ones. I know you mentioned when you first came over, guys were giving you side eye, like, what is this, dude? This is really weird. When did that start? How did that start? Because that's certainly a unique ritual you don't see from a lot of relievers in the game.
Yeah, so that started, I guess, last season was the first season I started doing that. And it's stemmed to the previous offseason. I was talking with my trainers back home in Kansas City and was like, it's like, hey, like I'm at the time I'm 31, 32. I'm like, I think I'm strong enough. Like, I don't think I'm going to benefit a lot by adding 30 pounds to my deadlift, so how do but I am going to benefit if I can move well and I can, maintain strength and flexibility and all this. And if I can just stay healthy. So they kind of came up with, and they operate in that world, obviously. Like, a lot of my prep for my lifts was crawling, rolling, getting into weird positions and trying to be strong in them. So I did it all off season and I felt great, like started waking up and like nothing felt tight. And so like, I kind of feel like I can roll out of bed and feel good. So I just was like, what, it was a lot easier in Tampa because we had a back room to stretch in. So like nobody really noticed the somersaults, but now here we are just doing them out in the open, rolling around like a 5-year-old.
I thought maybe you saw him at the park. You saw some.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah, I can still.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, hey, whatever works. And clearly it's been working for you. Jason, I want to go back a little bit. I don't know if people really appreciate just how much perseverance you've had to show throughout your career to get to this point. You had 4 elbow surgeries as a minor leaguer, missed 2 full seasons. You persevere through that, make your way to the majors. And then when you're in AAA with the Cubs, suffer a horrendous ankle fracture, the bone jutting out from the skin. I mean, after 4 elbow surgeries, a major ankle fracture that was just really, really tough. Was there ever a point where you were just like, man, this is just too much? The surgeries, the rehab, the toll on your body?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And not necessarily the physical toll. With the missing the 2.5 years, it was kind of like, I never had to go through like what a lot of guys with Tommy John go through, where it's like, hey, you're not going to see a game for over a year. For me, it was like, hey, you're just going to rest for 2 months. And I'm like, oh, I can do 2 months. And then like 2 months would come and go. I'd still be hurt. They're like, all right, we're going to do 2 more months. And we just kept stacking. So in some ways that was hard, obviously, because I kept getting disappointed, but I also didn't have to do the huge, like, hey, you're going to be out for a while. Because if up front they would have told me 2 or 3 years, I probably would have been like, all right, I'll go get a real job then. But
you don't want a real job.
Yeah, I did. Now I'm putting that off as long as I can. But I think no. So yes, it crossed my mind often. Like, should I even be doing this? And it was something that like my wife and I would talk about and pray about, and I felt very convicted and had peace about continuing to play. I felt like it was what I was supposed to do, and so I had peace about it, even though friends and family, well-meaning, were being like, "Are you sure you want to keep doing this?" And I probably would have said the same thing on the outside looking into, but I had peace about it, still have peace about it. And it's a conversation we revisit every year because I love this game. I love playing, but yeah, you have to evaluate always what's best for you and your family. And right now, this is definitely seems to be what's best for us, and we love it. And I want to do it as long as I can.
Just to follow up on that, having that experiences, how has that shaped your perspective on being a Major League Baseball pitcher and not taking it for granted and knowing just how special an opportunity this is? How has this shaped your perspective of the game?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it on the head. It changed everything for my view, and it's made the game a lot more fun. I mean, if I go out there every night saying this could be the last time I ever get to touch a baseball. Is that the most likely thing? No, but you never know. You could take it. I'm always like, I could take a comebacker off the throat and be done. Like it's just like it's a fleeting game, but I love it and I love getting to play. So when I play, like, hey, this could be my last game, it brings some of the childlike joy back, and it makes you play a little harder, work a little harder because you really want to enjoy and maximize on the opportunity that you do have.
So what are little quirks, or what do you do that people don't know about?
In game or like in prep?
Just in life, just in general. Like, are you a big do you collect baseball cards? Do you you watch history movies or a big movie guy? Like,
no, I used to get a lot of baseball cards. I pinned them all to my wall as a kid, so I probably defaced some very valuable baseball cards. But no, I mean, honestly, but like I am very I joke with Fritz, our bullpen coach, because I know nothing about baseball outside of like my job. He's like, because I go home and I just completely shut it off. I mean, I'll watch if I see a buddy playing or something. I'm not against, like, I love baseball, but I'm all in to like the girl dad mode when I get home, and like to the point we'll be like having our meeting and Fritz will be like, Jason, we're playing the Reds today. Like just joking with me, but
they're in Cincinnati.
Yeah, we're in Cincinnati. Remember this beautiful city. Yeah, so I think that is fairly unique about me, is I turn it off pretty quick, but I think that helps me enjoy it too. When I'm there, when I'm at the field, I'm all in, and when I'm away from the field, I'm out. And if
what's your favorite bullpen?
That's a great question.
Especially like on the road and stuff.
Yeah, on the road. So under one of my favorite home bullpens was Tampa. Kind of, I love being on field, which no one else does. But I felt like I was actually part of the game. But favorite road bullpen, golly. New York's the Yankees is pretty good because you can either sit out.
Yeah.
No, the best road bullpen is Toronto. They renovated it. It's awesome. Yeah, you can sit up top with the fans now, and they're all over you. And then you can go under, and they have a whole area to like prep, like a plyo wall, everything. And you can get back to the clubhouse the back way, so that they check all the boxes.
All right.
There you have it. Canada does it well.
When I was playing, a lot of the teams were on the field, and they've renovated a lot. So I need to check the bullpens out since it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm checking the last one off my list. This road trip, I haven't done Philly yet, so I'm excited.
Oh, Philly's fun. Did you know? In fact, that you didn't know about Philly is the visiting bullpen. The first homestand was actually the home bullpen. The fans got so mad at their home guys, they flip-flopped them.
We can't have them yelling at them. for 80 games a year.
Literally. So that's why they're down below, away from the fans.
Oh, that must be nice. Yeah. No, I love it.
That
I
is-
love it. I love when they're on us. I think it makes it so fun.
I
Least favorite
enjoy
bullpen is the new Wrigley bullpen. By far the least favorite.
Why is
Really?
that?
You're just underneath the stands. You can't hear the game. You can barely see it through the windows. And so, yeah, it's just, yeah. If it's cold outside, you're warming up. It's like 75 degrees in this bullpen. And then you go outside, you're like, oh my gosh, it's freezing. You just don't feel like you're part of the game. I like feeling like I'm part of the game.
I agree with you. That would probably suck right there.
Absolutely. Jason, it's been almost a calendar year now that you've been a member of the Padres organization. You were acquired last July at the trade deadline. You've pitched for a lot of different organizations, again, Kansas City, Toronto, Chicago, Tampa, now San Diego. In the minors, you're in Minnesota's system. You statistically are having the best stint of your career with the Padres, and that's not uncommon. A lot of pitchers come to San Diego and perform the best they ever have or get back to their prime form. What is it about the pitching infrastructure in San Diego that has allowed you to be so successful and really everyone around you to be so successful? What's different and unique about what they do in San Diego?
Yeah, it's an awesome group. I think obviously Ruben leads the charge, and he's brought in fantastic people. So Ruben and Fritz, I've gotten just in the year I've been here, it feels like I've known them for a long time. Just how invested they are in each of our careers. So for me personally, I think I came over, and I revitalized my career in Tampa, or really like gave myself, started a career in Tampa and learned so much. And so I first got here, they're like, hey, they just left me alone. They're like, hey, just do that. We don't want to mess with you. We acquired you because we like what we see. Keep going. And then they slowly introduced like some of their philosophies about how to approach hitters. And so I think, so they're brilliant people from top to bottom. You got Ruben, Fritz, Peter, Appy. Like we got an awesome team. So they're brilliant, but they're also, what I think is even more important is they're really good about knowing when to say something and when to just keep their mouth shut. Because every guy's different. I'm a tinkerer. I always want to adjust. I always want to that can be good or bad. And so they know when they just shut up, like, nope, just keep doing that. And they also know when to say, hey, you're getting a little out of yourself here. You need to do this, or what were you thinking on this pitch? So I think it's a combination of they're really smart, but they're also like really, emotionally intelligent and how to handle. They handle their guys in each of our unique, weird personalities really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and great catchers too. We got two catchers who are working on the game plan nonstop. So I'm like we already talked about. I'm kind of dumb, but they know the game plan really well. So I can kind of go up there and know what I'm feeling, and then I'm also benefiting from them knowing that, hey, this guy, the hard slider's better to him or the changeup's better to him. I can kind of just go out there and throw.
A lot of people don't realize this is actually your second stint in the Padres organization. You signed with the team as a minor league free agent back in 2017. Didn't last very long. You were released mid-season. It was when you were coming back trying to rehab. What are your memories of that stint? What was Jason Adam like at that point? Because you were still coming back and obviously not 100%.
Yeah, that was the tail end of my rehab stint, and I honestly fond memories. At that point, we had been in rehab for over 2 years. So we were in rehab, we would try to not even be present where we were at. We're like, we're going to be out of here in 2 months. We're like, my wife and I, we're just going to stay to ourselves and get out of here. And then by then we're like, all right, well, we're just going to assume we're here for the next 10 years and we're just going to buckle up, make friends. And so some of the most fun, it was one of the most fun seasons of my life because I made some lifelong friends. I was at a good place where I was doing everything I could to get healthy, but I was starting to become at peace with one, as soon as I get healthy, they're probably going to release me because I've just been a work comp nightmare. So I'm just going to do I'll try new things. I'll try out this, I'll do whatever. And that's how I ended up getting my throwing motion I was like, see if this doesn't hurt. So I was in a really good place. Hey, I want to do this forever, but this could be it. So I'm just going to enjoy it. And then, yeah, escaped rehab, got healthy, pitched, and then got released. And my wife and I just kind of looked at each other and laughed. We're like, all right, we'll see what's next.
Yeah, I think San Diego does that to a lot of players. You just make you feel like you're at home and comfortable, and
Yes.
then you do weird stuff like release you and then sign you a couple years later. Or trade you.
Yeah. And I ran into AJ when I was with the Rays playing here 2 years ago. And I remember going out to our bullpen catcher and be like, if I ever get traded, I think it's probably going to be the Padres. Like, just after talking to him, so like AJ's just I don't know if he was thinking it then, but at the time I'm like, it just seems like, yeah, maybe I'll end up there.
So really quick, last question for me is, do you think AJ is going to go and try to trade for somebody this year, or is he going to say, hey, this is the team we got, and maybe we can find, something in the minors if we need a little bit more offense or whatnot?
Oof,
Or what do you
yeah,
think? What do you think?
he's always working. I mean, I'd take the team we have to battle. I think our best baseball's ahead of us. Like we're in a fine spot, and I don't think we've been playing anywhere near as good as we should from top to bottom, myself
Well,
included.
you guys don't play that well until the second half, so
So we're there. Yeah, we're there. It's time to turn
So
it
I
on.
feel like you're ahead of the game already. So you're ready.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, wouldn't be surprised. I know AJ's always the hardest worker in the room. So we'll see what he does. But honestly, I feel great about the team we have, and excited to see what these guys all do down the stretch.
Jason, I know you got to head to the ballpark here soon, but I have one final question for you. You mentioned having a feeling that AJ Preller would acquire you. I want to go back 15 years. You're in high school, senior at Overland Park High School in Kansas. You thought that the Rangers were going to draft you. The Royals did, but you thought the Rangers were going to draft you in part because AJ Preller has shown interest. So take me back to 2010. What was that dynamic like? How you met AJ, and why did you think they were going to draft you? How did that all play out?
Yeah, I think he just showed he was around the most, I guess. So like of all the teams outside of probably maybe Kansas City was around a lot too, because we were in Kansas City, but I got those two. It was them two he was around all the time, keeping in touch. And now I know he is always working. He is incredible. So like now I know, like, maybe he was he was around a bunch because he just does that all the time. But at the time we would guess, and we're kind of like, I think it's going to be Texas, like it just seemed like that was the fit. Then obviously I got to go to Kansas City, which was awesome, and loved that. But and then just in the fact that he scouts how many people every year. And then when I ran into him that many years later, when I ran into him in 17 when I was back with the Padres, he was like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, God, that was like 8 years ago. But his mind is sharp.
Absolutely. Hey, he wanted you in 2010, then he signed you in 2017. He brought you back in 2024. So clearly, there's
14 years later, we made it happen.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much for your time. We really, really appreciate it. Congratulations on the great season you're having, and we look forward to seeing what's to come.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for having me. See ya.
All right. Once again, that was Jason Adam. Again, it's important to recognize just how important he has been to the Padres this season. 40 appearances. That is the most of any player in Major League Baseball. He has a 1.77 ERA. He's been so huge in so many big spots for them, setting up, but also stepping in as a closer days when Robert Suarez isn't available. Again, we talk about the Padres and the trades and ones they've made that have worked and that haven't, but I think it's important to give credit where credit is due. And the trade for Jason Adam last year has been a huge win for the Padres.
Yeah, Jason is one of those guys that, he can pitch just about every day, and he's kind of showing it. And I feel like, there's not a lot of guys out there that can pitch every day or that actually want to pitch every day. And he seems like hey, man, if I get to pitch, I get to pitch, and this could be great. And I'm happy to see that. And I think Jason would be huge for the Padres to keep long-term. So, I hope he sticks around for many years to come.
Absolutely. All right, Heath, we still have a lot more to talk about, including handing out first half grades for the Padres. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsors, and jump right into it.
Kratz, real talk. I do not carry cash around me, but what I do carry around on my phone is Cash App.
Easy peasy. Like I said before, anytime Scott can pay for the tab, that is good. And it's always right there. Fast, easy, always available.
Yeah. Oh, my credit card's not working, or oh, I didn't bring cash with me. There's no more alligator arms. Do you have your phone? Most people have their phone. So use Cash App. It's secure and safe. There's no waiting around. It is a super, super easy sign up process. You can sign up quicker than you can listen to Kratz and I talk about Cash App. For a limited time only for the FT fam, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, no catch. Just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code Territory in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App.
All right, welcome back to Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside Heath Bell. All right, Heath, the Padres have played 80 games this year, so not quite the halfway mark, but for all intents and purposes, we're there. And with that, it's time to hand out some first half grades to this club. I want to start with just kind of the overall grade. We're going to get into the position by position unit grades, but at this point in the season, what grade do you give the team? I know we've done this before, and you're a harsh grader, so I really am curious to hear, where do you stand right now at 44-36, second place in the NL West, sixth in the NL wildcard, or in the NL playoff race, I should say, so in playoff position. What grade do you give the team overall right now?
Right now, I give them a B plus just because they're ahead of where I thought they would be. I mean, they started off really hot. They kind of slowed down, but I feel like we talked about a while, they're not doing two things too sexy. It's too flashy, but they're winning some games here. So it's definitely a B plus for me, even though with the little slump they've had a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I'll give them a B. Again, it's not always pretty, but when you are in playoff position, second place in a tough division, yes, it hasn't been as great recently as it was to start, but when you look at the overall picture where this team stands, I give them a B. I'm impressed. You were giving them some like C pluses earlier this year when they were rolling well. So,
well,
I
will tell you, when we get started good positions, there's going to be a lot of C pluses. But overall, as a team, they're definitely doing. They're higher than I expected. So, you got to give them where credit due. As a team, they're definitely a B plus.
All right, so with that, I want to go unit by unit here. Let's start with the starting rotation. The Padres have a 3.89 ERA. That is 14th in Major League Baseball among starting groups. What grade do you give the Padres rotation so far this year?
I would say it's a B to B minus, just because they've had some guys go to the minors and they've had, some weird, not so injuries, but missed starts or whatnot. But I feel like guys can pitch a little bit better. I mean, Nick's kind of been outstanding, but some of the other guys, I don't like saying names because then if we talk to them in the clubhouse, they can get mad at me. But it's just, I feel like they haven't pitched to their capability, but it's okay right now because it doesn't count. It really counts in August and September what you do. I mean, over the scheme of a long season. So I just feel like, they've had one too many bad innings, as in, hey, I pitched 5 good innings and 1 bad inning, and we end up losing or don't get the decision. And that's happened way too much. And I feel like we just need more guys. We have more guys capable of stepping up like Nick did the other day.
Yeah.
Going, I'm going to put you guys on the back. I'm going to go 7-8 innings. I'm going to give the bullpen a break, this and that. And I just feel like they haven't done that as much as they possibly could or they have in the past. So I'd say it's like a B minus right now, starting rotation.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a B just because, again, when you look at some of the injuries they've sustained in terms of Yu Darvish yet to pitch this year, of course, Joe Musgrove out for the year after having Tommy John surgery, Michael King, out with this pinched nerve. On the whole, for them to be where they are, again, top half of Major League Baseball in ERA, I think that's, you kind of have to tip your cap a little bit. Nick Pivetta has been great. Dylan Cease has been more uneven than you'd like, but at the end of the day, more often than not, he's getting the job done, doing enough to help the Padres win. And I want to give credit. Randy Vasquez has stepped up. Steven Kolek has stepped up. Ryan Burgett has stepped up. All these guys have come up and give the Padres, even on days where they're certainly not dominant, which is more often than not, they're solid. They give the team a chance to win. And when you're talking about back-end rotation pieces, guys you expect it to be depth starters, That's all you can really ask. And I think they've done an admirable job of that. Your point, though, about, innings pitched and going deeper is relevant here. The Padres are 19th in the majors in terms of innings pitched by their starters. Some of that has been guys like Berger, Vasquez, and Kolek a little bit too. Mike Schultz had a bit of a short leash with them because they have to prove that they can, be trusted in tight spots third time through the order, 1-1 game, 2-1 game. But we saw Vasquez go 7 the other day. I think they're on the upswing. And again, this rotation should get better as Darvish comes back, as Cease kind of dials it in. Hopefully King comes back sooner rather than later. So I think they've been a solid B plus, and I think they're only going to get better.
Well, I mean, we don't have a dominant number one guy. We have a bunch of number twos and number threes. I don't think we have a number 4, number 5 starter. I think there are a bunch of number twos and threes, and it's just, B plus. They're all doing pretty good. They're doing above average. They're doing what they need to do, but they're not A status yet. So there's potential, but they just haven't done it for whatever reason.
And again, we've seen when healthy, Darvish is a number 1 caliber starter. Cease and King have shown flashes of it.
I don't even know who Yu Darvish is. I mean, he was a pitcher that pitched with us years ago. It's what right now. I know Joe Musgrove is probably biting at the, rehab and trying to come back sooner than later. But yeah, nobody knows. Yu Darvish on vacation or what? I don't know.
He threw a sim game against the minor leaguers recently. Again, hopefully he's building back up. We still don't have a firm return date yet, but after having to shut down after his last rehab start, he's pitching some sim games. So hopefully we're getting some forward momentum here. We'll see when he's able to come back. Hopefully there will be a firm return date soon. Heath, I want to go to the bullpen. We talked about it again. This unit has been one of the best in baseball all year. Entering today, they have a 3.30 ERA. That is 4th in Major League Baseball among relief units. What grade do you give the bullpen?
I give them an A- just because they're not number 1 yet, but they're kind of the heart and soul of the pitching staff, I really believe. I mean, starters are there, but when the starters get into trouble, the real men show up, and the bullpen has been doing that lately. And yeah, you could say maybe the last week or two, the bullpen kind of let us down, as in a game or two, somebody just didn't do well, but Robert Suarez hit Ohtani, so you gotta goes from a B- to or B+ to an A-. So A-, they're doing their job and they're doing it very satisfactory. And trust me, any other team would love to have this bullpen.
Yeah, I give this bullpen an A. This has been the heart and soul of the team, and frankly, why the Padres are in the position they're in. You think about how many games where the offense just hasn't gotten going and they're falling behind early, and it's, a 2-0, 3-0 deficit. And the bullpen comes in, holds the line, and the Padres are able to get enough offense going in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning. We've seen so many comeback wins, and we talk about that in the context of, hey, Padres offense, super resilient, timely hits, all of which is true. But they wouldn't be in that position in the first place if the bullpen hasn't held the line. And that's what they've done all year. I really think this bullpen deserves an A, just in terms of, yes, what they've done performance-wise. When you look at their workload innings-wise, again, given the starters are in the bottom half of baseball in innings pitched. The situations, again, to me, this is an A unit. I wouldn't go A+. I think you have to be first in the majors in ERA or second to be A+, but I give them a firm A. They've been great, and they are the reason why the Padres are where they are.
A-, and then if you're number 1, you're A+. If you're number 2, you're an A. If you're number 3 or solid, you're A-.
Yeah. Heath, I want to go into the lineup. Again, we both agree, rotation, you go B-, I go B, bullpen, you go A-, I go A. These are the units that you're pretty happy with. The offense, as we've talked about, is on the other side of the spectrum. Entering today, the Padres are 21st in the majors in runs scored. They are 22nd in OPS, bottom 10 in both categories. And again, it's even more accentuated over the last 6 weeks, where they're a bottom 5 offense. Really, even these numbers are kind of juiced by a hot start. What grade do you give the lineup this year?
C-, just for the simple fact is, when you're an offense that can explode at times, but over the course of like an average, you're kind of below average. So I got to give it a C- because they're not D players. They're definitely average, hitters over, because, you got to get the first half of the lineup is really good. Second half of the lineup is not so good. you got to mesh together. And really, my biggest thing is if you have a team like this, you need to play small ball. Forget about home runs and stuff. You need to, hit and run. You need to get the ball, bunt the ball. You need to hit the ball the other side, get guys over, sack flies, take the extra base, steal, do all the little things that you don't really require you to swing a bat and hit a ball. So it's just – you need to do all the little things, and I feel like they got away from it. I mean, early on in the season in April, they were doing all these little things, and they were explosive. And then they got comfortable and thought, okay, now we're all going to be great hitters. No, if you play small ball, and I know that I'm a pitcher, and every hitter is going to say this, but I will say any pitcher hates teams that play small ball because there's more to think about and more to do on the pitching staff than just pitch. Guys that, crush the ball and hit home runs, we love pitching to those guys because they got a bunch of holes. And, it's just one of those things where if I feel like the guys that don't hit well play a little small ball and everybody incorporates into that, this team could be a B to B plus hit offense and they would score way more runs. But, I mean, I guess I'm just a pitcher talking about hitting. That's what most people think.
Well, no, look, your point is fair. It depends on the personnel you have, right? And for the Padres, when you look at their personnel, it does make sense, especially at the bottom lineup, for this team to be more of a, hey, let's just focus on, singles and laying down some bunts. This is not a group at the bottom half that you want up there swinging for the fences. That's not their strength. That's not their game. That's not how they're going to be most effective. Heath, I think this is the first time you are going to give a grade higher than what I'm going to give. Normally, you're the tough grader. I'm going D plus for this offense. Again, when you're bottom 10 in baseball in both batting average and OPS, and by the way, and runs scored and OPS, and you're bottom half in pretty much every category, average, they're okay, but on base, slugging, I mean, none of it is good. You have a 695 OPS as a team. This is one of the 10 worst offenses in baseball by any statistical measure you like, and watching them as well. So I think right now, if you're the Padres, you have to understand what this offense is. We can talk so much about what it should be, what it could be, but this is what they've been over the course of the season. And I've mentioned this other places. It can't just be, oh, we need the guys at the top of the lineup to hit well, or we need to acquire some upgrades at left field and catcher. It has to be both. If the Padres only get the guys at the top of the lineup start performing better, that's great. Now you have a lineup that's dangerous 1 through 5. That's not good enough. If you only make some trade deadline additions, but the guys at the top don't click it into gear, okay, then you've got 7 or 8 hitters who are kind of hitting at like an average-ish level, which it's fine, but it's not what you want. They really need the guys at the top, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill, Manny Machado, Luis Arias, to perform to their peak capabilities as much as they can, in the case of Arias and Tatis, more consistently than they have been. And then they also need to go out and get really 2 starting position players, left field and catcher. And honestly, they need to improve the bench as well. Getting in another dangerous bench bat would help. So this offense right now, again, just objectively, it's one of the 10 worst in baseball by whatever statistical measure you like. And to me, that's a D plus.
That's I'm not going to be that harsh, but that's why I say they need to play small ball, slap it, try to, get the hits. Forget about power. Power will show up, and just get about hits, making contact, moving the ball, if the infield's moving around all the time and not just, in your spray chart and you got to bunt the ball, you got to do this, they're moving. And then when you decide to swing, they're not in your spray chart anymore. So, and it's like, you have to do that. I just don't understand why teams don't do it more, because I'll show you this. Teams that go far in the playoffs do that. They just don't out-muscle everybody in the offensive part. They're putting the bunts down. They're getting guys over. They're doing the little things. So why don't do that during the season? Yeah. And it'll get you there. So, and you just keep doing it. I just don't understand it. As a pitcher, especially as a reliever, you see that all the time. You're just like, man, stop swinging for the fences, especially the guys that are hitting like 230, 240. You know when a guy's swinging hard or not. Yeah. Just try to make contact. Slap the ball. Who cares if you can only hit it, 120 feet right over the infield's head? Who cares? You're on base.
Again, I think it comes back to being dynamic. You don't want to be one-dimensional. You certainly want to have guys who can provide power, but you also want guys who can provide contact. You want to have guys who can run the bases.
But if you do those little things,
it adds up.
You can start swinging. You just can't do it all the time.
And again, it's about having balance, being dynamic. It's important. You don't want to be one dimensional either way, and make, because when you do that, you're making things easier for the opponent to game plan. All right, Heath, want to finish up with the defense. And this is where it's tricky, right? Because defensive metrics on the whole are just kind of a mess. The best way to measure defense realistically is still with your eyes. That said, there is one metric that I personally like, and that's defensive efficiency. What that is it's just the percentage of balls in play that are turned into outs. It takes away all the assumptions. It takes away all the kind of very, very questionable methodologies behind some of, defensive run saves and defensive run saved and outs above average and some of the assumptions. It gets rid of all those. This just keeps it simple, objective outcomes, percentage of balls in play turned into outs. The Padres are 7th in that. And I do think that's reflective of who they are as a defense. They're not super rangy, but they make the plays they should. What grade do you give the Padres defense so far this year?
So right now, me just watching the games and whatnot, I would give a B+ to A- defensively, because I don't see balls getting thrown away. And I know defense is all about like range and stuff, but my biggest thing is if you make the plays you can make and you're efficient with that. Yeah, the super, like I've had guys that you don't even know that are shortstops, and then I've had the Khalil Greens that are one of the best in the league that can get to everything. So it's one of those things that I just want you to get to what you can get to and don't miss it. And don't like dive for a ball that you shouldn't be diving for. And I feel like they're doing that. And I feel like, I'd have to give them right around a B+ to an A- on defensively, just with my eyes not looking at the metrics or anything like that, because this is a good, solid defense. And I'm pretty sure just about every pitching staff in the league would love to go, yeah, I'll take their defense. They don't make errors.
No question about it. And again, there certainly have been, guys have bad games here or there, or, 1 or 2 games here or there where the defense just has a bad day. That's going to happen. But you look at on the whole this season, the Padres, errors, they are averaging fewer than the league average. So they're in great shape. They don't make a lot of mistakes. And again, there's a reliability factor. Fernando Tatis Jr. can make some highlight reel plays. Manny Machado can make some highlight reel plays. But a lot of the other guys, they're solid. They make the plays they're supposed to. Jake Cronenworth at second base, Jackson Merrill in center. Obviously, left field when Gavin Sheets is out there, you are sacrificing some things defensively. But on the whole, just this team, they're getting the job done. Again, if you make the plays you're supposed to, that goes a long way. They don't make, you see a lot of teams, including teams that, they've played against, that throw to the wrong base or throw balls away or throw balls when they shouldn't.
Or their outfield dives for a ball and it gets past them.
Yeah, or they miss their cutoff men, or they get bad jumps and balls drop that shouldn't. So many teams do these things. All you have to do is look at teams like the Red Sox, or even we saw with the Rockies when the Padres just crushed them. A lot of it wasn't even errors. It was balls dropping that shouldn't drop. The Padres don't do a lot of those things that really come back and bite you. So I give them credit. I give them a solid B to B+ as well. So on the whole, we're talking about 3 of the 4 core units that you want from this team. You give A's and B's to: the rotation, the bullpen, and the defense. But the offense has to get fixed. That's really what it comes down to at this point in the season.
And I just think it's small ball. I mean, here's the thing. Fundamentals, that's all you need for offense. And hitters don't like doing that anymore. Defense, they're doing fundamentals. Pitching, it's all about, I guarantee they're preaching, hey, let's pound the strike zone fundamentals. If we throw more strikes than balls, we're not giving free passes.
Getting ahead in the count. Yes. I mean, most teams are. There's some teams that have fallen way too far into staring at iPads instead of watching the game and understanding situations. But majority of teams, the smart teams, yes, they're still emphasizing the basics. Get ahead in the count, establish your fastball. Yes, it matters.
Offense, just do the little things. Play fundamental. Make contact. Stop trying to hit the ball so hard. Try to pull get a good good swing. How about just making contact?
Yeah, we'll see what they're able to do. And starting this weekend in Cincinnati, the Padres go on a 6-game road trip here. Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. 2 very, very, very hitter-friendly parks. That said, both Cincinnati and Philadelphia do have some good pitching staffs. Heath, as we head into this road trip, what would constitute success for you on this road trip? What record do you want to see the Padres pull out over these next 6 games for you to feel okay about how they're doing?
Honestly, if we get 3 bunts down, I'll feel excited this road trip. But how many wins? Just win the series. I'm a stickler. You win the series, I'm fine. That's really all it comes down to.
Yeah, both of these teams are right there in the wild card hunt with the Padres. The Reds are 2.5 games behind the Padres in the wild card race. The Phillies are 2.5 games ahead of the Padres in the wild card race. So, again, it's still June. It'll be early July by the time this road trip wraps up. You don't want to go crazy and say, oh my gosh, they have to win these series. But when you're facing teams that you are going head to head with in the wild card race, these are the kind of series you want to make sure and do well in so that you don't look back 3 months from now and say, man, if we had just taken an extra game here or there, that would have made the difference finishing ahead of or behind Cincinnati, potentially for the last wild card spot. I think realistically, when you consider the fact that the Reds are above 500, the Phillies are one of the most talented teams in baseball, they're well above 500. You're going on the road to face these two talented teams. Just go 3-3. Just get a split. Look, if you can win both series, that'd be great. Go 4-2, 5-1. That'd be amazing. That's obviously the goal.
You got to win the series. You got to win the series.
But I do think just maybe this is me having lower expectations. Given the way the Padres are playing, given the quality of their opponents, given they're going on the road, if they just come out of this 3-3, I think you consider it a win, holding steady. What you can't have happen is you go 1-5 and lose even more ground in the wild card race. Again, whether it's against the Reds or the Phillies, that's what you can't have happen. Just go 3-3, get back home. I think you're okay.
What would you be happy if they swept Cincinnati and Philly swept them?
I mean, it's not ideal, but when you kind of zoom out,
3-3. There you go.
But it's not ideal. But if you zoom out, again, I think if you hold steady in your current position on the road and you go if you go 500 on the road over the course of the season and take care of business at home, you'll be where you want to be. Again, of course, ideally, you want to win both series. You don't want to get swept in either series.
Well, if they're going to be a playoff team, a chance to win the World Series instead of just, oh, we got to the playoffs and we're happy, you're going to have to win this series. And these two teams, you could see in the playoffs. I mean, definitely Philly's probably going to be there. Cincinnati's on the bubble of hey, we might be there. Cincinnati might be that team that just gets hot right at the right time.
Yeah.
And they're that troubled team that everybody didn't expect because they're that talented. But, that's why you need to win the series. I mean, yeah, it's just you hate to go, oh, we'll win one series and lose the other. Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, I'd rather lose Cincinnati and win in Philly just so you come home on a good note. So
potentially, again, I think if I were to handicap it, I'd say go 2-1 against Cincy and 1-2 against Philly, end up 3-3. That might be where it ends up, but you never know.
I got to win that last one before they come home, so they're not like bummed out.
Definitely, no question about it. This will be a good series against the Reds. Opener tonight, Dylan Cease versus Nick Martinez, former Padre. Then you get Randy Vasquez versus Andrew Abbott and Stephen Kolek versus Nick Lodolo. Abbott and Lodolo are two of the best young left-handed pitchers in baseball. This is one of the Reds' strengths. They have a really good young rotation with, of course, Hunter
Green. Fun to watch Abbott pitch.
Yeah, who's injured, but Andrew Abbott, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people appreciate him. 7-1 with a 1.79 ERA. I mean, he has been dominant. And Nick Lodolo, that low slot lefty with real stuff, SoCal native from Laverne up here in LA. I mean, I actually think this would be a good test of the Padres. We've talked about this. We have seen them struggle against lefties in particular at times this year. And to their credit, Gavin Sheets has had a few big hits against lefties recently. Jake Cronenworth has had a few. Luis Arias has had a few. So they're playing better, but the splits for all these guys is much stronger against righties. So I think this will be a good test this series, how the Padres fare against two talented young lefties with real stuff.
Okay. Hey, really quick question. I got for the second half, who do you think is going to be the surprise offense in the Padres lineup? For the second half. I got my guy already.
Go ahead. Who's yours?
Jake Cronenworth. I feel like he's starting to come out of his whatever happened to him a year ago, and I think he'll finish the second half better than the first half, and we'll talk about it. He's kind of turned it around.
Yeah, there's no question. Jake Cronenworth has been hitting much, much, much better recently. We've talked about it. We're seeing him have some long at-bats. We're starting to see some homers, some doubles. It's been really, really promising.
I still Jackson Merrill did last year.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a surprise, but I do think Fernando Tatis Jr. is going to be much better in the second half than he has been over the last 6 to 8 weeks. I think that we were seeing him get back to just having, a better at-bats where he was seeing pitches. He wasn't chasing the stuff below the zone. He was making more consistent contact. He was starting to run again. You're seeing the power come back a little bit. He got hit in the hand, and that's always tricky. Hands, wrists, that stuff can linger even when you're not on the IL. and you want to see that hill up. But I think we were starting to see some of the underlying ingredients again: higher quality at bats, more consistent contact, running wild again. I think he was just about to take off, and once his hand heals up and he's feeling 100%, I think we're going to see him have a big second half. I really do.
Okay.
So we'll see. And the Padres could certainly use that. The best version of Fernando Tatis Jr. and the best version of Jake Cronenworth would go a long way. Heath, this has been a fantastic show. Great hour worth of stuff here again. Looking at who the Padres All-Stars should be. Great interview with Jason Adam. So gracious with his time. And, of course, handing out grades. Any final thoughts here as we wrap up and the Padres head into this weekend series against the Reds?
No, when I go see Adam and Jason, I gotta figure some history of baseball since he doesn't know any. I think it's awesome that he does. He just plays baseball. He loves the game, but he doesn't love the history of the game. Well, he probably just doesn't know the history because he's just a father and a husband. So that's cool. I just like to tidbit. That'd be one of those guys in the clubhouse. I'd love to throw a history fact once a week to him. Yeah. Just something crazy. Why, hey, how many stitches on a baseball? Or,
why do you know the answer to that? How many stitches on a baseball?
Oh, isn't it like 128 or 126 or something like that?
I used to know it. I probably should look it up. But I was going to say, it's actually an interesting point, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think that actually helps, especially reliever? You have to have a short memory where, hey, good, bad, you're able to go home, not think about it, focus on being a dad, and not just kind of feel like you're always in that mode of that mindset of always thinking about pitching and baseball and being in the ballpark. Is that helpful, being able to kind of shut it off and leave work at work and go home and just be a dad?
Here's the thing. When you shut it off, you shut it off. But when you show back up, you remember what you did, or you did good or did bad. But it does help a lot. And offensive guys should have it too. But it's mostly spotlighted with the relievers. But yeah, it's you see relievers pitch for a long period of time if they're not worried about day in and day out. They're having a good time. They're over here, they're pitching over here, and then they're doing their own thing, and they don't intermix. So it's always good, and it's good to see Adams that way.
Absolutely. By the way, 108 double stitches on a baseball. 108. So there you go.
28. So there you go. I was just 10. Don't tell anybody I had 10 more.
Absolutely. Well, once again, this has been a great show. Heath, thank you so much for your expertise and insight as always. We appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. This has been another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead and give us a review, subscribe, like Apple, YouTube, Spotify, whatever platform you're watching and listening on. We'd love to hear from you. Once again, please subscribe. It helps us out, helps us grow the show, get to do lots more fun stuff. Again, now's a great time. Heath and I will be live from Petco Park next week. We've got Mike Cameron coming on Monday. We have lots more guests coming from the Padres. And this is going to be an exciting time for the club as they go into the All-Star break and look to take off in the second half this year as they did last year. Once again, for Heath Bell, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thanks for watching and listening. See you next week.
Last thing, if you see me next homestand, come grab me because I'll be wearing my jersey out there. Come say hi.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Take care.